My daughter always says that I've been to 9 schools and I'm in 10th grade already. So yeah, I think if I was to do it again, all over again, I would definitely do it differently, right? So there was always learnings in terms of how you raise capital. You have to work backwards from the customer pain point, figure out what problem you're solving. And before you spend too much time on technology or product, you need to make sure that customer is ready to pay you for something which you're going to build.
Hello and welcome to another super duper fantastic episode of Pitch Cafe podcast. It's always a pleasure to talk to a next gen entrepreneur who's transforming any particular space in technology or generally improving lives of people. I say next gen because today's guest is a person who is giving back to the soil he came from. He is basically from Goa but has traveled many countries in the world including US, China, and he's held amazing labels on his resume like TCS, Nokia, Broadcom. He's got tons of Silicon Valley and outside experience, but still he comes back to his soil. He wants to give back to Goa. He is making Goa a next gen smart city by introducing smart access control facility. And hey, smart access is seems like a very small market, but this is multi-billion dollar market in the multi-trillion dollar IoT industry. So this is very next gen, very cutting edge, very cool. You don't know where this market can go. Right now they're starting with badging, but our guest today, Rohin Parkar, let's hear it from him. If you ever thought you want to start a company in India and want to move to Silicon Valley, Rohin has lots of advice for you. Without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, Rohin Parkar of Spintly. Welcome to Pitch Cafe podcast, Rohin. What a pleasure to have you.
Hi, Vida. Thanks a lot for having me. It's always pleasure to see you and meet you and see your energy.
Awesome. Likewise, I'm reflecting your energy. I'm so thrilled listening to your story. So, Rohin, tell us all about the why. Why did you start Spintly and what was your motivation? How did you find your co founder? Tell us everything about it.
Sure, great. So the company was started by me and Malcolm, who is the co-founder. We both are friends. We've known each other since childhood. We, in fact, both grew in Goa. We went to school all the way in first grade. We were together, and we also went to the same engineering college. Right. So then, after engineering, we parted ways. Where I started my career as a scientist at Baba Atomic Research Center, and then moved to US in 2005. Started there in Motorola. Very fortunate to have worked with various companies like Motorola, Nokia, then Broadcom. Got to travel the world, got to learn a lot. Similarly, Malcolm was in Chicago, so he was also in the space of wireless technology. And then finally, we were always in touch, and we said, "Hey, what do you do after so much of experience? Right? There is something better than just keeping working, right?" So that's when I decided to move back to Goa. He was already there, and we decided that, hey, let's quit our jobs and start a company. And goal was to create good jobs which are always only available in Silicon Valley, which people don't get that kind of work in India, right? So how do we generate that kind of jobs in India and in Goa? And yeah, today we have about 70 engineers in our team who are doing great stuff in wireless technology, and yeah, growing and building a new company which is going global.
So, Rohin, lot of exciting stuff happening. To me, you belong to that generation where home is not in one place, it can be in any place. You've traveled so much, you made Silicon Valley your home, you made Goa your home, you have a head office, marketing office in Bangalore, you said. So that is another home. So my first question is, how do you develop that comfort zone when you travel across so many business ecosystems? Now you want to bring Silicon Valley to Goa. So tell me, what is the thought process behind this? How does somebody like you get the idea, the energy, the passion to do it?
Yeah, so it's always about trying to do something new, right? I've always moved frequently. I've not settled in one place. I mean, as Steve Jobs says, right? Don't settle, right? Yeah. So that's what has been my life. So I've moved from Goa to US, in Chicago, from Chicago to Texas, from Texas to Los Angeles, from Los Angeles to San Jose in Bay Area, then moved back to India, and the cycle keeps going on and on. And fortunately, I've got good support from my family, from my wife and my kids, My daughter always says that I've been to 9 schools and I'm in 10th grade already. So, but I think it's all about trying to explore and do something different and new than what you're currently doing, right? So expanding your horizons, and it gives you a comfort feel. Once you've done it many times, you feel comfortable moving around and settling in new places, trying to build something which will you and your family or can be proud of.
Yeah, awesome. So be daring and don't settle. Go where your destiny takes you. On that note, let's come back to your story, your founder story. You told us how you met your co-founder. How did you find the fit? How did you know he was the right person when you started Spintly, and how did you make the plunge?
I mean, for us, it was a no-brainer because, we've known each other as kids from childhood, also studied in engineering. So if once you've studied together in engineering and as school, you already know each other so well, right? So it doesn't take a lot to make a decision, and you don't have to kind of vet your co-founder anymore. It's all about, hey, I'm doing something, are you coming on board? And there's no second thoughts, right?
Fantastic. So that's a great way to find a co-founder. But tell me about the moment when Spintly happened. You now had 2 rounds of funding and you're on the 3rd round of funding. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
So tell me more about all this and the journey of raising funding. Let's talk to the founder who's struggling out there, who wants to raise funding. Let's talk to him and let's tell him all about Spintly.
So we started in 2018, the company, and we were focused on a broader area of IoT, and we wanted to connect everything to the cloud and internet and form a network of devices. Right? But during the journey, we realized that we had to focus on one specific use case of IoT. And we picked access control as a use case, right?
Why did you pick that? Like, you could have done a lot of things. Why did you pick that?
Yeah, we could have done a lot of things. What happened was we were in a building automation room trying to do some automation using IoT. And we suddenly came across these controllers and panels which were mounted on the wall, and they were connected to all the doors. And we were really surprised to see so much of hardware and wiring for a simple thing like access control. And we, coming from wireless background, we really thought that this can be simplified, this can be changed. That was a thought. And we quickly went to the customer and said we could remove all this stuff which is broken anyways and old, and replace it with fully a wireless system, right? So within a few months, we had a pilot going.
Which city was this, all this happening in?
This was in Goa. This was in Goa, in an industrial area, where we were trying to get some projects in industrial IoT and industrial automation. Right?
Fantastic.
So suddenly we pivoted to access control as a use case. We had already built the wireless mesh stack and technology, trying to do sensors and lighting control and all this stuff, right? So we could take that and just build access control out of it. So by 2019, we were already certain that we are becoming an access control company. And we launched the company product in December 2019. And then, what happened? COVID happened in March 2020. So it wasn't a smooth sailing ride for us at all.
But it was good time because access, people are not touching things. So it was
but it took a while. It took almost about the whole year for people to come back to office after office is shut down. So once office is shut down in March, we had to wait for people to start coming back. That was always up to the end of the year. Right? There was another wave which happened after that, Delta wave variant.
Scary.
So it was a tough journey because we couldn't scale at the speed at which we wanted to scale, right? But by mid 2021, things were really good and things really picked up. And over the last 1 year, we have got more than 200 customers in just 1 year, right? And we've scaled in India, we've gone to Middle East, and now scaling in the US. We raised a couple of rounds of funding along the journey, which helped us keep moving forward. But now we are raising a large round for us to be able to scale globally.
Yeah, you told me you're a 75 people company, and you told me it was hard during the pandemic. So who funded you during the pandemic, and what was it like convincing your first round of funding with all that going on, all the panic? How did you pitch your startup? What was the story?
So initially, me and Malcolm were bootstrapping the company until we had the product ready. We didn't raise any money, but then we raised some money from friends and family. in the initial pre-seed round. Our seed round was led by Reso Capital, who's based out of Bay Area. They funded our company in 2021 March, along with Succeed Innovation Fund, which is a Hyderabad-based fund. Reso Capital really built the conviction in what we are doing. Given the background of some of the investors, they knew the wireless technology called Thread, which we were using.
Yeah.
And Thread is one of the core technologies which our products are built on. That really convinced them that this is something which is a long-term journey. It's just not a short-term thing, right? It's a technology play which we are doing. That gave us the seed funding, and then that helped us really scale in India. And they also doubled down in this round again, which we are doing right now.
Fantastic. So, what is your advice on people approaching funding? Like, in a very difficult time, you went and convinced somebody like Riso in Silicon Valley, and also you said Succeed
Innovation Fund.
Succeed Innovation Fund. So, what is your advice to founders who are in a tough spot and they're raising funding? I know you played the technology game, but really, what else was at work? Like, did you have to coach your team to work in a certain way, to show certain metrics? What was that phase like?
Yeah, I think if I was to do it again, all over again, I would definitely do it differently, right? So there was always learnings in terms of how you raise capital. So I would say it's always, you have to work backwards from the customer pain point, figure out what problem you're solving. And before you spend too much time on technology or product, you need to make sure that that customer is ready to pay you for something which you're going to build, right?
Awesome.
And you take that idea and either do a quick MVP based on what you know, and either raise money, or if you think you can bootstrap it, well and good. But if you think you're going to need capital, raise it early on based on the idea, right? Typically engineering background founders or technical founders, they want to build products really early and want to prove it out before they can raise money. But that's not the way entrepreneurship works, right? You really need to validate your idea with the customers, make sure that they're ready to pay for it, then go raise money, build it, and deliver it to them, right?
Yeah. So this is a really, really good advice. And I think a lot of people here in the Valley use something called design thinking, which is customer focused. And I'm sure you did something along those lines later on once you figured out customer comes first. So that's a great learning for all founders here. And how does it change when you go from the early seed round where you bootstrap to once you have an investor whom you have to show metrics? What changes in your inside the company? What are the kind of things that changes? I'm sure you told customer comes first. You started working closely with customer, but what else changes when you have to churn out numbers and show to someone, hey, look at this is what I did with your money? So how does that change?
Initially, it's all your efforts are towards building technology and product or validating your idea, right? But once you're funding, it's all about metrics, right? What metrics you're trying to hit. So it's very important to define your key metrics to the investors first. If it is sales, or is it revenue, or is it a number of users, right? Whatever is the metric. For some businesses, it could be just number of users and not revenues. So being very honest about the metrics with the investor is very important, because they should not have unrealistic expectations from the funding which we've raised, right? So once you've agreed on the metrics, it's about hitting those metrics, right? If it's number of users, then how many users you're scaling month on month. So for us, it was number of doors, right? For example, how many doors are coming on our platform and how many users are using it. So those two metrics.
What kind of doors? If you're using a lift door, there will be a lot of people going in and out. If it's a lift access, not all lifts are accessible. If you go to certain buildings, certain lifts are accessible only if you're like an R&D division, only scientists can access. They have to do scans, right? So like that is a high throughput. Elevators are high throughput. But if an office door to a certain room, only one person goes and comes, or two people do, then it's different, right? So it's different. So access is a pretty big way to qualify metrics. So I see that. So you're saying that these are the kind of things you go after, what really matter.
So because it all depends on how your revenue model is. So we are charging per user per month and also per door per month, right? So the more the doors and more the users, more will be our revenue, more is our ARR, right? Recurring revenue, which matters. So we have about 100,000 users now on our platform, right? So that gives us the revenue which we need, and also key customer accounts, right? So if you get a large customer account, you know that that customer is going to grow and you are going to grow along with them.
Yeah.
That's another metric which we used.
Awesome. So, Rohin, great insight so far. You started off with your story of Spintly. You told people how you found your co founder. You talked about your inspiration behind Spintly and what it takes to raise funds during the pandemic and after the pandemic. Now, a very hot question most founders from India want to know: how do you scale your business in Silicon Valley? I have seen my friends who have done so well in India, when they come to Silicon Valley, they struggle. And you are at FalconX B2B Accelerator, and tell our listeners all about what it is to take that plunge from India to Silicon Valley. Maybe
Mhm.
easy for someone like you, but a lot of people struggle with culture
Okay.
issues, language issues, a lot of things. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, definitely. It is not that difficult for me on paper because I've lived in Silicon Valley. I've lived in the US. It is not a culture issue for me. My wife's also lived in the US. My kids were born in the US. So for me, it was not a big deal to take a plunge in terms of setting my base there. But as a business, yeah, definitely, taking a business from India, which works in India, doesn't work in the US, right? Pain points for the customers are different. So you need to be ready to kind of ready to start from scratch again
Yeah.
to figure out what is the pain point the customers in US have, right? You can't just take the same thing which has been working in India and bring it back here. You need to be able to go to the whiteboard again, right? And build it up again. You may have a product and you may have technology, but you need to be ready to pivot again. So
Yeah.
that's one advice. And second is a belief, I think self-belief that, hey, you can build a global company, right? There is nothing like it's an Indian company or it's a US company. You can build a product out of India and take it global, just how companies in US,
Yeah.
in Silicon Valley, build a global business, right? Similarly, you should have the belief that you could do it. Right?
Yeah, that's really good advice. The belief aspect, soft aspect, which really differentiates a founder who lasts for a long time. I heard really good news that the last year or so you've had like what, 200 customers? Is that correct?
Yeah, we
So,
just crossed 200 plus customers at this point. Yeah.
wow. And I'm guessing the secret sauce is you have a good messaging with your sales and marketing outreach here in the US. And you've coached them and you've made the right hires. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we just got our US team now. We hired sales and customer success managers in the US now, but our India team has been key for our growth because our growth has been in India for the last 2 years. All our major customers are in India. So our sales team is about 8 people in India, supported by our engineering team, which delivers on product and software.
I see.
Right.
So you
Marketing, yeah, definitely. I personally do a lot of marketing on LinkedIn and other platforms.
So awesome. So Rohin, Spintly looks really promising as a startup. So tell us about all your growth metrics in the last 1 year.
Yeah, last 1 year has been really great for us in terms of business and growth. We've had almost 200 plus customers who got added over the last 1 year, and our revenues have been growing almost 70% quarter over quarter consistently. Last quarter, we grew by about 85% in terms of revenue.
Wow.
And we've already crossed about 100,000 users on our platform.
So you hit the exponential curve now. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, the startup most awaited hockey stick curve, which
Mystic curve,
most
right?
startups wait for.
You crossed the chasm. Now you're in the not yet in the bowling alley, headed to the bowling alley. In cross.
Every founder perspective, yeah, I think we have crossed that chasm, but we tend to keep expanding our horizons. Like, what do you want to do? So pushing forward either in geography or the market or the segments. And so now it's about more segments, more market segments, bigger geography, things like that.
Fantastic. So your big picture, your vision, you're headed there. So that's a very good sign. On that note, I wish you all the best for your pre-Series A funding, and I hope it works.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Looking.
So Rohin, tell me, what is the meaning of Spintly? It's a very nice, sticky word. Why did you pick Spintly?
Yeah, so if you look at our tagline below, Spintly is amplify the simplicity, right? So what our mission was to simplify things overall, right? We saw this lot of clutter of hardware wiring, and so we wanted to simplify. So simplify was our motto, and we're trying to find a word which would, signify simplify. So at the end of the day, we wanted a catchy name. So we couldn't get simplify as obviously a domain name. So we jumbled it up and came up with Spintly. and we thought that words are just words. Words themselves become a brand over a period of time, and they become sticky. So we wanted a word which is unique. Now it has become a brand already.
This is beautiful. I was just listening to the podcast of ex head of marketing from Square, and she's been at Google and other companies. She's got the exact same advice. Don't go after words which make sense. Use sometimes words which stick in your head but don't have meaning, and your brand will create meaning. So this is amazing.
Absolutely.
So awesome. So great insight, Rohin. I think you're a busy person. I don't want to hold you any more longer than you have. It was fantastic learning about you and your company, your ethos, your whole passion about this making Goa a better place. Also, be a futuristic global company, just like you are a global citizen. So, if there's one parting thought you want to share with the listeners, they say one founder should not advise another founder. Every founder's journey is different, so now I'm scared to ask what is your advice. But if there's something you want to share, like you really feel passionate about as an entrepreneur, as a change maker, as a leader in your community, what is that message?
So for founders, I think the why is most important. Why you're doing what you're doing, right? You need to find that answer very early on. It cannot be because you want to make a lot of money, or it cannot be, I want to just build a business. It should be something bigger than that, and something which is very close to your heart or very emotional, right? Which drives you to do what you're doing, right? And it happens to be building a business. Right?
Yeah. So fantastic. So on that note, all you listeners, find your why and pursue the why. Not many people pursue their why. They let the why come and go, but people like Rohin take it all the way, not only for themselves, for their community, and for the global audience in general. So thank you so much, Rohin, for the valuable hour you spent with me. I'm sure lots of founders will benefit from that, and we hope to have you back soon. Good luck with your pre-series A. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vida. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.